At first it hurt in sharp ways, like something I couldn't ignore. Every missed call felt like something I should have felt more. But slowly it stopped surprising me, the way things didn't arrive. The promises that faded early, the plans that never survived. I learned the timing of your absence like I learned your voice before. And disappointment stopped feeling new, it just felt like before. Not loud enough to break me, not soft enough to heal, just something I kept adjusting to until it became real. I didn't stop hoping fully, I just stopped reacting to hope. I became used to disappointment, like it was part of the day, like waiting and not being chosen was just the normal way. I became used to disappointment, and that scared me more than pain, because pain means something is changing, but this just stayed the same. And I didn't even notice when it stopped hurting like before. I became used to disappointment, and then I expected it more. I stopped reading every silence like it meant something new. Stopped wondering what you were doing, or if you'd come through. Because expectation takes effort, and effort stopped making sense when every outcome kept repeating the same quiet consequence. So I adjusted without speaking, without telling anyone, how I was learning to accept less than what I'd begun. And maybe that's the part of me I don't fully recognize, the version that stopped resisting what slowly normalized. The most dangerous kind of pain is the one you don't feel anymore. I became used to disappointment, like it was part of the day, like waiting and not being chosen was just the normal way. I became used to disappointment, and that scared me more than pain, because pain means something is changing, but this just stayed the same. And I didn't even notice when it stopped hurting like before. I became used to disappointment, and then I expected it more. I don't think you ever realized how much I started to adjust, because I made it look like nothing, while I learned not to trust. Not in dramatic moments, but in quiet everyday loss, where I stopped keeping track of what I gave and what it cost. And now I see the difference between healing and just numb. I didn't move on from you, I just became what you became. It stopped feeling like breaking, it started feeling like air, and I didn't even notice when I stopped being there. Disappointment, and I wore it like a name, not because I wanted comfort, but because it felt the same. I became you. replaced what used to be. I became used to disappointment, and it became part of me. I didn't fall apart loudly, I just learned how to stay whole without expecting more. I used to think I needed someone to help me hold it all together, to catch me when I started falling, to make the heavy days feel lighter. But time has a way of teaching what words never really show, that sometimes the ones you lean on are the ones who let you go. So I stopped reaching outward for something that wouldn't stay, and started learning slowly how to carry things my way. Not because I wanted distance, not because I stopped believing, but because I kept on waiting for what you weren't retrieving. And somewhere in that silence I learned what strength becomes. I carried my own weight when you didn't show up beside me, when the promises faded quietly and nothing was as it used to be. I carried my own weight even when it broke me down, even when I needed someone who never turned around. And I don't say it like victory, it didn't feel like pride. I carried my own weight while something in me died. I remember all the moments I almost asked for help again, but stopped myself mid-sentence, like it wouldn't reach you then. You got used to my silence, not knowing what it cost, how every time I didn't speak up was another thing I lost. And slowly I became someone who didn't expect a hand, not because I didn't want one, but because I learned to stand on ground that kept on shifting, with or without your care, until I stopped looking for you in places you weren't there. The hardest strength to learn is the one you never chose. I carried my own weight when you didn't show up beside me, when the promises faded quietly and nothing was as it used to be. I carried my own weight even when it broke me down, even when I needed someone who never turned around. And I don't say it like victory, it didn't feel like pride. I carried my own weight while something in me died. Oh, and I don't know when it shifted from we into just me. Maybe it was every moment you were somewhere I couldn't see. I stopped expecting rescue, stopped waiting for a sign, and built a quieter version of a life that was mine. Not because I stopped loving, not because I stopped caring, but because I learned the hard way. No one was always there. I learned to hold my silence could see. I carried my own weight, and I won't pretend it was easy. It shaped the way I move forward in ways that still feel uneasy. Oh, I carried my own weight while I waited for you to change, but the waiting turned into distance that I can't rearrange. And now I stand a little stronger, but not the way I planned. I carried my own weight because I had to understand that sometimes love stops showing up and you still survive the break. I carried my own weight for my own sake. I didn't become stronger because you helped me. I became stronger because you didn't. And somehow I still made it through. I covered for you often, more than you probably knew. Turned your silence into answers, made excuses sound like truth. When you didn't reply in time, I told them you were just busy. When you forgot what mattered most, I made it seem less messy. I protected your image gently, even when I felt the weight of explaining you to people while you arrived too late. And every time I did that, I thought I was being kind, but I was slowly erasing what I felt deep down inside. I was defending what was hurting me without even realizing. I covered for you often until I couldn't anymore. Kept smoothing over the cracks I was starting to ignore. I covered for you often while you stayed comfortable and free, and I became the explanation for what you did to me. Every "it's fine, don't worry" was me falling apart. I covered for you often and forgot my own heart. I remember changing the story so nobody would ask too much, downplaying every disappointment, turning hurt into luck. I made you sound more consistent than you ever really were, because admitting the reality would have made everything blur. And maybe that's the hardest part of loving someone like that. You don't just lose what they give you, you lose what you cover up after that. And I didn't see it clearly until I stopped making it small, how much I was protecting you while I was losing it all. I thought I was keeping peace, but I was keeping silence alive. I covered for you often until I couldn't anymore. Kept smoothing over the cracks I was starting to ignore. I covered for you often while you stay comfortable made your silence sound harmless. I made your distance look small. And every time I defended you, I was losing myself more than all. I covered for you often, and now I see what it cost me. Not just what you didn't do, but what it quietly taught me. I covered for you often, till there was nothing left to hide, except the truth I kept buried on my side. And now I don't rewrite your absence, I don't soften what it was, because I covered for you often, and that's enough. You never asked me to protect you, but I did, and I forgot to protect myself too. I used to reach for you first whenever something felt wrong. I used to think you'd wanna know where I was hurting all along. I would send the second message when the first one went unread. Tell myself you'd come back to it before the day had left. But slowly I started noticing how often I was the one waiting for replies that never came, waiting for things undone. And every time I asked for clarity, it felt like asking too much, like I was disturbing something you no longer touched. I didn't stop needing you, I just stopped expecting response. I learned not to ask, not because I didn't care, but because I already knew what I would find there. A delayed reply, or nothing at all. I learned not to ask after so many falls, and every unanswered feeling taught me how to withdraw. I learned not to ask, and that's what hurt most of all. I stopped asking if you missed me, stopped asking what went wrong, stopped asking if we were okay when it didn't feel that strong. Because every honest question started feeling out of place, like I was interrupting silence you didn't want to break. So I learned to keep it in me, to hold it without sound, to act like I was fine with less than what I needed around. And maybe you never noticed how quiet I became, but I was slowly unlearning how to call your name. The loudest changes are silent, no one hears them begin. I learned not to ask, not because I didn't care, but because I already knew what I would find there. A delayed reply, or nothing at all. That's what hurt most of all. I don't think you meant to teach me this, but silence has its way of turning honest questions into things you stop trying to say. And I still wonder sometimes things would feel the same if I hadn't learned so early to stop calling your name. But I did, and now even when I wanna reach you, something inside says don't. Not because I'm okay, but because I know you are. I used to ask so freely. Now I hesitate instead. And every question I don't say feels louder in my head. I learned not to ask, and it changed how I see you. Not through anger or blame, just the things I can't reach you. I learned not to ask, and the silence taught me more than any answer ever did. Behind a closed door, now I keep my questions buried where they can't fall apart. I learned not to ask, and I learned how to guard my heart. You didn't tell me to stop asking, I just stopped after I realized there was nothing waiting on the other side. I used to build my days around you, even when you weren't around. Every plan had a space for you that you rarely filled out. I didn't notice how it changed me slowly, without a sound. How I kept adjusting everything to keep disappointment from coming down. At first it felt like patience, like understanding you more. But it turned into waiting for things that never really came before. And I think I knew it earlier than I ever said out loud. But hope has a way of staying, even when it's not allowed. Letting go didn't happen quickly, it happened when I stopped checking. I let go of expecting you, not in anger, not in pain, just in quiet understanding of what would stay the same. I let go of expecting you, and something inside me eased. Not because I stopped loving you, but because I stopped believing that waiting would turn into something you never gave me proof to see. I let go of expecting you, and I finally let me be. I stopped refreshing the silence, stopped hoping it would change, stopped reading into small delays like they meant something rearranged. And I realized how much energy I spent on maybe soon, on imagining better versions of what never came from you. You didn't need to say goodbye, you just needed to stay the same. And I slowly learned the ending was already in the game, because expectation is a weight that only one of us carry. And I was tired of building futures on something that never losing you, it was letting go of what I hoped you'd be. I let go of expecting you, not in anger, not in pain, just in quiet understanding of what would stay the same. I let go of expecting you, and something inside me eased, not because I stopped loving you, but because I stopped believing that waiting would turn into something you never gave me proof to see. I let go of expecting you, and I finally let me be. I don't think you ever realized how heavy waiting can become, when every small tomorrow never really comes. And I stayed longer than I should have, trying to make it feel right, but letting go isn't leaving, it's stopping the fight between what I hoped for and what was always true, and finally choosing peace over you. I stopped holding tomorrow in your hands, and every empty promise finally helped me understand. I let go of expecting you, and it didn't break me down, it softened all the edges of what was never found. I let go of expecting you, and the silence feels less cold, because I stopped waiting for a story that never got told. And now I see it clearly, what I couldn't see before. I let go of expecting you, and I don't wait anymore. I didn't lose you all at once, I just stopped expecting you to stay, and that made all the difference in every way. I didn't decide it all at once. There was no clear moment, I knew. It happened in the smallest adjustments of what I expected from you. I stopped waiting for perfect timing, stopped asking for honest care, stopped hoping you noticed the silence before it became just air. At first it felt like patience, like being understanding and kind, like giving space for someone who just needed more time. But slowly I started noticing I was the only one changing shape, and every compromise I made for you was another piece I gave away. I didn't lower them overnight, I lowered them to stay. I lowered my standards quietly, so I wouldn't have to leave. Made excuses sound like reasons, just to help myself believe that less was still enough, the distance was okay. I lowered my standards quietly and slowly lost my way. Every time I accepted less, I told myself it was love, but I was just adapting to what I was afraid of. Stopped expecting consistency, stopped expecting effort to last. Stopped expecting conversations that didn't feel half-hearted or fast. I made peace with unanswered messages, with plans that never arrived, with being emotionally present for something one-sided inside. And I think the saddest part of it is how normal it became, how I stopped noticing the difference between love and something that's strained. Because lowering expectations doesn't feel like falling apart. It feels like staying functional while losing your heart. I thought I was being strong, but I was just adjusting to pain. I lowered my standards quietly so I wouldn't have to leave. Made excuses sound like reasons just to help myself believe that less was still enough, that distance was okay. I lowered my standards quietly and slowly lost my way. Every time I accepted less, I told myself it was love, but I was just adapting to what I was afraid of. I wish I could say it happened because you did something cruel, but it was more like erosion than any single rule. A slow reshaping of boundaries until I didn't recognize what I used to call enough before it compromised. And I don't blame you fully, but I can't pretend I didn't see how much of myself I gave up just to keep you close to me. I kept making it smaller till it barely existed. And every step I stayed longer was a step I slowly missed it. I lowered my standards quietly and called it staying strong, but strength shouldn't feel like losing everything you started from. I lowered my standards quietly until there was almost none, and only then I realized what I had become. Now I don't call it love anymore, I call it what it was. I lowered my standards quietly, and that's enough. It didn't break me loudly, it just made me smaller until I barely noticed I was gone from what I wanted. At first I waited by my phone, believing every promise you made, believing every I'll be there would eventually find its way. I gave you room, I gave you patience, I told myself to understand. Everybody slips sometimes, everybody changes plans, but little by little I noticed I was the only one adjusting, making peace with empty spaces and calling it loving. I kept lowering the bar to keep us from falling apart, never realizing every compromise was breaking my heart. I didn't stop needing more, I just stopped believing I'd get it. I started expecting less, a little less effort every day, a little less consistency, a little more disappointment on the way. I started expecting less, not because I wanted to, but because hoping you'd show up kept hurting me with you. And every lowered expectation made the pain easier to hide. I started expecting less, while something inside me died. I stopped expecting long conversations, stopped expecting you to notice when I changed, stopped expecting you to remember the things that once felt important to say. I stopped asking for reassurance, stopped mentioning when I felt alone, because disappointment gets exhausting when it starts feeling like home. And maybe from the outside it looked like I was doing fine, but what looked like acceptance was really me drawing the line between what I wanted from you and what I knew was true. Because eventually reality wins over what we wish would come through. The saddest adjustments happen quietly when nobody sees them happen. I started expecting less, a little less effort every day, a little less consistency, a little more disappointment on the way. I started expecting less, not because I wanted to, but because hoping you'd show up kept hurting me with you. And every lowered expectation made the pain easier to hide. I started expecting less, while something inside me died. You probably thought I was easier now, less emotional, less demanding, less affected, but the truth was different. I wasn't becoming easier, I was becoming tired, tired of hoping, tired of waiting, tired of turning every letdown into another excuse for why I should stay and trust you again. I kept lowering the standard until I couldn't recognize it, and every piece I gave away made the distance harder to find. Started expecting less until there was almost nothing left. No promises to believe in, no disappointments to protect. I started expecting less, and that's when I knew it changed. Because love shouldn't feel like learning how much hurt you can contain. Now I look back and understand what I couldn't see back then. I wasn't preparing for happiness, I was preparing for another letdown again. The moment that scared me most wasn't when you disappointed me, it was when I expected it before it happened. At first, every letdown felt heavy, like something I couldn't predict. I used to replay every moment, trying to figure what I missed. I used to wait for correction, for things to finally align, for you to show up differently the next time. But patterns don't need permission, they just repeat and become known. And And slowly I stopped reacting to what I already should have known. The messages that came too late, the silence where words should be, it all started blending together into familiarity. Not because it hurt less, but because it hurt the same. And repetition changes pain into a name. I didn't stop caring, I stopped expecting change. I stopped being surprised when you didn't show up again, when promises turned into silence, the same way they did back then. I stopped being surprised, not because I stopped believing, but because disappointment stopped needing repeating. And that shift inside me was quieter than it seems. I stopped being surprised, and I stopped chasing dreams. I remember when I used to react to every small disappointment like it was something new, like it still needed appointment. But eventually I learned your rhythm, the timing of your absence too. And what once felt unpredictable turned into something I knew. So I stopped preparing for better, stopped imagining a shift, stopped expecting sudden changes that would never exist. And that's when things got quiet, not outside but inside me, where even disappointment lost intensity. The hardest part wasn't losing hope, it was recognizing it leaving. Chasing dreams, I don't think I noticed the moment it changed from hurt to routine, from waiting for something different to already knowing what you mean. And maybe that's the real ending, not anger, not goodbye, just the quiet understanding of what never comes alive. And I'm not broken by it, I'm just no longer shocked by something I learned too well to keep unlocking. Nothing felt unexpected, nothing felt new, and every disappointment already felt like you. I stopped being surprised, and that says everything clearly, not in loud declarations, but in how I feel it near me. I stopped being surprised when you didn't choose to stay, and I stopped building tomorrow out of yesterday. Now even silence feels familiar, like something I already know. I stopped being surprised and I let go. I didn't stop loving you suddenly, I just stopped expecting anything different from what you already were. I used to plan things around you, like your word was something sure. If you said you'd be there later, I'd believe it, nothing more. I adjusted all my timing to the version you would give, built small parts of my life around the way I thought you lived. But slowly I started noticing the pattern I ignored, how maybe turned into not today and soon meant less and more. And every time you didn't show up, I learned a little bit more truth, that I couldn't build my certainty around what you might do. Dependence fades in silence, not in one loud goodbye. I stopped counting on you, one missed promise at a time, one delayed response, one empty plan. I stopped reading every sign. I stopped counting on you, not because I stopped caring, but because every expectation kept ending in me staring at something that didn't happen, and someone not there again. I stopped counting on you, and that's where it began. I stopped waiting at the doorsteps, stopped saving space in my day, stopped believing this time meant different than all the times before that day. And it wasn't anger that changed me, it was learning what repeats, how disappointment becomes rhythm when trust no longer meets. You didn't break me loudly, you just slowly trained my mind to stop expecting presence from someone hard to find. And I think that's what people miss when they ask what went wrong. It wasn't one ending, it was too long. I didn't stop needing you, I just stopped depending on you. I stopped counting on you, one missed promise at a time, one delayed response, one empty plan. I stopped reading every sign. I stopped counting on you, not because I stopped caring, but because every expectation kept ending in me staring at something that didn't happen, at someone not there again. I stopped counting on you, and that's where it began. It's strange how freedom feels when it comes from disappointment. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet readjustment. I still think of you sometimes, but not like I used to do. I don't wait for anything anymore from you, and maybe that's the real ending. Not leaving, not goodbye, just the moment I stop building life around a lie. I stopped checking the timing, stopped hoping you'd arrive, and every plan I made without you started feeling more alive. I stopped counting on you, and it didn't happen fast. It happened in the moments, the quiet trust is more than wishing that someone might come through. I stopped counting on you, and I stopped losing me too. I didn't stop loving you, I stopped expecting you to be someone you weren't becoming. I trusted you in small ways, the kind nobody writes about. Not the promises people remember, but the ones that matter somehow. Like believing you'd call me back when you said you'd do it soon, or knowing when the day went wrong I'd find some comfort in you. It wasn't built on grand gestures or dramatic declarations made. It lived inside ordinary moments where real trust gets its shape. And every little thing you handled well made me believe you cared. So I never saw the cracks forming till they were already there. The hardest part about losing trust is how slowly it leaves. I trusted you in small ways, and that's what broke me most. Not because of one big failure, but because of what I lost. One missed promise at a time, one disappointment too. I trusted you in small ways, and those small ways were huge. The little things kept adding up till I didn't know what was true. I trusted you in small ways, and I trusted them to you. I noticed when you stopped remembering the things I told you before. The stories that once mattered didn't seem important anymore. You still said all the right words, still wore the same familiar face, but effort slowly started fading, and something else took its place. I kept lowering the importance of every hurt I couldn't explain, because admitting I was losing trust felt harder than the pain. And maybe that's how disappointment works. Not loud enough to make you leave, just quiet enough to change what you're willing to believe. Trust doesn't disappear in storms, sometimes it disappears in drizzles. I trusted you in small ways, and that's what broke me most. Not because of one big failure, but because of what I lost. One missed promise at a time, one disappointment too. I trusted you in small ways, and those small ways were huge. The little things kept adding up till I didn't know what was true. I trusted you in small ways, and I trusted them to you. You never shattered my trust, you slowly wore it down like waves against a shoreline, until the edges weren't around. And I wish there was one moment I could point to and explain, but the truth is much quieter and somehow hurts the same. Because trust isn't only built through extraordinary things. It's built in all the tiny moments we barely notice happening. Little things became everything. Everything became a question. And every question led me here, where trust used to live. I trusted you in small ways, with pieces of my everyday life. The worries I never spoke aloud, the dreams I kept inside. I trusted you in small ways and watched them slowly disappear. Not through betrayal, but through 1,000 moments that left me standing here. Now I understand the ending wasn't one thing I went through. It was every small trust I handed over that never made it back from you. People think trust breaks suddenly, but sometimes it fades so slowly. You don't notice it's gone until you stop reaching for it at all. I kept adjusting everything to make space for you to stay. I lowered what I needed just so you wouldn't walk away. I told myself it was patience, that I was learning how to love, that understanding someone distant was enough to rise above. But you didn't feel the distance the way I felt it every day. You didn't notice what I gave up just to keep you in my space. And somewhere in that imbalance, something quietly went wrong. I was trying to hold it together while you were already gone. Not leaving, not disappearing, just settling where you were. I was building bridges while you learned how to stand still. You became comfortable there in the space I kept for you, where I made less of myself so the distance wouldn't show through. You became comfortable there while I slowly disappeared, and what felt like us to you was something I held alone for years. And I don't say it with anger, just a clarity that grew. You became comfortable there while I lost myself for you. I remember all the moments I waited for you to try, for something small to change, for you to meet me halfway in time. But comfort has a gravity, it pulls you where you stay, and you never seem to notice that I was fading away. You didn't need to chase me because I never let you fall. I covered every silence, I carried it all, and maybe that's the lesson I couldn't see before. If someone can stay without effort, they might not see you anymore. I thought I was keeping you close, but I was the only one holding on. You became comfortable there in the space I kept for you, where I made less of myself so the distance wouldn't show through. You became comfortable there while I slowly disappeared, and kept reaching in. Oh, and every step I gave you comfort was a step I lost within. You became comfortable there, and I became something smaller, a version of myself that waited and waited longer. You became comfortable there while I carried what we were, and now I see the truth so clearly. It was never really ours, and I don't need you to leave now, because you already did. You became comfortable there, and I disappeared in it. You didn't have to walk away, you just had to stay the same, and I did the rest. I carried mine without complaining, even when it bent me low, even when I had to smile through everything I didn't show. I handled what was heavy, I handled what you left behind. I kept things from collapsing while you stepped out of line. And I told myself it was balance, that maybe we were just tired. But slowly I started noticing only one of us got tired. You leaned on me without noticing how much I was holding still, while yours kept slipping further, and I was left to fill. I thought we were sharing the weight, but it was never equal. You didn't carry yours, not like I carried mine. Not in the moments that mattered, not in the hardest times. You didn't carry yours, and I tried to make it work, but love can't survive forever when only one person hurts. And I don't say it with anger, I say it because it's true. You didn't carry yours, and I carried both for you. I remember all the times I covered for what you didn't do, explaining your absence gently so no one looked at you. I made your silence easier than it had any right to be, while quietly absorbing what was breaking inside me. And maybe you never noticed how uneven we had become, because comfort hides the imbalance until the damage is done. I wasn't asking for perfection, just some effort in return, but I was the only one adjusting while watching everything burn. The hardest truth to swallow is the way you carry alone, while someone else stands beside you without ever knowing. Oh, you didn't carry yours, not like I carried mine. Not in the moments that mattered, not in the hardest times. You didn't carry and I carried both for you. Maybe you thought you were trying, maybe you thought you showed up enough, but effort isn't measured by intention alone. But love and I was drowning quietly while you stayed just above, never seeing how unequal what we called enough was. And I don't need revenge, I don't need you to feel pain. I just needed you to notice what I couldn't sustain. How do you abandon without ever asking why? And every step I took for both of us was the reason I survived. You didn't carry yours, and that changed everything slowly. Not in one breaking moment, but in ways that felt unholy. You didn't carry yours, and I stopped pretending it was fair, because love isn't just staying, it's showing you care. And now I understand the ending that I couldn't see before. You didn't carry yours, and I couldn't anymore. I thought I was holding us together, but I see it now. I was holding you and myself at the same time. I gave you pieces of myself that nobody else could see. The thoughts I kept behind my smile, the fragile parts of me. I told you things I never said to anyone before. The fears I carried through the years, the scars I still ignored. And every word felt dangerous, like stepping out without a shield. But trust can make a heart believe it's finally safe to feel. So I placed those quiet secrets into your careful hands, never knowing how easily they could slip right through again. I wasn't asking for perfection, just a place where I could land. You didn't hold them well, the things I trusted you with, the fears, the dreams, the memories, the pieces hidden deep within. You didn't hold them well, and I felt it little by little. Every careless answer, every time you made them seem so little. I gave you what was hardest to tell, and you didn't hold them well. Sometimes you change the subject when I finally opened up. Sometimes I'd leave the conversation feeling emptier than before. You heard the words I gave you, but not the weight behind them all. And understanding isn't listening if you let the meaning fall. I remember nights I trusted you with things that made me shake, only to feel those same emotions become details you'd misplace. And maybe you never meant to hurt me, maybe you never saw the cost. But trust doesn't only break through cruelty, it breaks when care gets lost. The deepest wounds aren't always caused by what people do, Sometimes they're caused by what they fail to protect. You didn't hold them well, the things I trusted you with, the fears, the dreams, the memories, the pieces hidden deep within. You didn't hold them well, and I felt it little by little. Every careless answer, every time you made them seem so little. I gave you what was hardest to tell, and you didn't hold them well. Now I understand why silence came, why I started keeping things inside, why vulnerability became heavier every time I tried. Because trust isn't built by promises, it's built by what survives after someone hands you something fragile and you treat it like it's alive. I needed comfort, I needed care, I needed someone who understood that some things aren't meant to be fixed, only held the way they should. I gave you the parts I protected, the ones I rarely showed, and every time they came back wounded, I learned to carry them alone. You didn't hold them well, and now I carry them differently. The pieces I once trusted you with are back here protecting me. You didn't hold them well, and that's what changed everything. Not one betrayal, not one goodbye, but 1,000 tiny stings. Now when I think about the ending, the truth becomes clear as hell. I wasn't afraid to trust you, you just didn't hold it well. The saddest part isn't that I opened up, it's knowing I'd do it again. If I believed you cared enough to hold those pieces the way they deserved. I changed in ways you never saw, not in one sudden moment, but in the space between our conversations, where I slowly became different. I stopped asking the same questions, stopped waiting like I used to do, stopped expecting simple things from you that I once believed were true. You didn't notice I got quieter, or that I stopped reaching first, or how my voice stopped carrying what it once used to burst. And I think that's what hurt the most, not the change itself inside, but realizing I could disappear while standing right by your side. I didn't vanish suddenly, I faded where you looked least. You didn't notice the change, not the small ones, not the slow. How I stopped expecting answers, how I stopped letting it show. You didn't notice the change, even when it became clear that I was no longer the same, while still standing here. And maybe that's the truth I feared more than anything you did. You didn't notice the change because you never really looked. I remember when I used to tell you everything that crossed my mind, your silence. You adjusted to my space until we became two versions of a love that lost its place. And I wonder if you ever think back to who I used to be, or if I've already faded from your memory. Because I changed in quiet moments when nothing felt like a sign, and you were never there to see it unfold in real time. The hardest part of growing apart is doing it beside someone. You didn't notice the change, not the small ones, not the slow. How I stopped expecting answers, how I stopped letting it show. You didn't notice the change, even when it became clear that I was no longer the same, while still standing here. And maybe that's the truth I feared more than anything you did. You didn't notice the change because you never really looked. I don't blame you for not seeing it, because I didn't make it loud. I learned how to disappear softly without making a sound. But part of me still wonders why we can drift so far away without anyone noticing the moment things don't stay. And now I understand the silence that filled the space between. It wasn't one event that broke us, it was everything unseen. I changed without announcing, I left without a trace, and you were still beside me, but never saw my face. You didn't notice the change, and I stopped trying to be seen. Not because I stopped loving you, but because I stopped being the version that you remember, the version you once knew. You didn't notice the change, and now I'm through with waiting to be recognized by someone looking away. You didn't notice the change, and I changed anyway. I didn't leave all at once, I just stopped existing in the version of me you were willing to notice. I didn't just change on my own, it didn't happen in isolation. It was shaped by every moment. You didn't meet me halfway in conversation. Every time I needed more from you and got just a little less instead. I learned how to shrink my expectations inside my own head. I started adjusting slowly, not because I wanted to, but because every time I reached for more, it didn't come through you. And maybe that's what hurt the most, not what you did or didn't say, but how naturally I adapted to keep disappointment away. I didn't fall into this alone, but I still learned how to stay. You let me do that, lower myself to stay close, turn my needs into something I stopped asking for the most. You let me do that, little by little I changed, not because I stopped loving how it started with just small compromises. Not wanting to be difficult, not wanting to start fights. So I softened what I needed, made my feelings sound less loud. Told myself that understanding you was what love was about. But understanding turned into silence, silence turned into space, and space turned into a version of me I don't fully recognize today. And I think you never noticed how much I disappeared inside, because I made it look so normal to keep everything inside. I thought I was being patient, but I was learning to disappear. You let me do that, lower myself to stay close, turn my needs into something I stopped asking for the most. You let me do that, little by little I changed. Not because I stopped loving, but because I stopped expecting your change. And now I see the quiet truth behind everything we knew. You let me do that without meaning to. I don't think you ever told me to stop asking for more, but your absence had a language that I couldn't ignore. And I translated it slowly into what I became, someone easier to keep but harder to remain. And I don't fully blame you, but I can't deny the cost of all the things I gave up just to avoid what I lost. I changed without noticing, too I couldn't tell the start. And every quiet adjustment was a step away from my heart. You let me do that, and I'm only now understanding how silence can shape a person without ever demanding. You let me do that, and I carried it like it was mine, but it was built between us over time. Now I see the truth more clearly than I ever did with you. You let me do that, and I did it too. Maybe you didn't change me, maybe I changed myself, but you were the reason I stopped asking for help. You didn't break me all at once. There was no sharp goodbye, just softer ways of showing up, less often over time. Your words were still polite enough, your tone still sounded kind, but kindness doesn't always mean you're still really by my side. I kept noticing small changes that I tried to overlook, the way you stopped remembering the things I thought you took. And nothing ever felt dramatic, nothing I could point and say, just a slow and quiet distance that built itself that way. The gentlest endings are the ones you don't notice until they're gone. You let me down gently, like it was easier that way. No sudden crash, no breaking sound, just things you didn't say. You let me down gently, and that's what made it stay longer than it should have, in a quiet, fading way. And I because you smiled, while slowly over distance we were drifting every mile. You didn't cancel everything, you just stopped showing up the same. And subtle shifts are harder than anything you name, because there's no clear ending, no moment to defend, just the realization that we were nearing the end. And I kept waiting for a sign that would never come through clear, because what we lost was quiet, not something we could hear. Sometimes love doesn't end loudly, it just forgets how to stay. You let me down gently, like it was easier that way. No sudden crash, no breaking sound, just things you didn't say. You let me down gently, and that's what made it stay longer than it should have, in a quiet, fading way. And I don't blame you loudly, but I finally understand. You let me down gently while I let go of your hand. Maybe you thought it was kindness to make it hurt less sharp, but gentle doesn't always mean it doesn't still break a heart. And I think I understand you, even if it doesn't change, that softness can still leave you completely rearranged. Because I was waiting for an ending that never truly came, just a slow disappearance of everything we name. Nothing fell all at once, but everything slipped away. And gentle doesn't mean it hurts less, it just hurts another way. You let me down gently, and I'm still learning what that means. Not every ending shatters, some just quietly leave. You let me down gently, and I stayed longer than I should, because nothing felt like breaking, even though it was. And now I see it clearly, what I couldn't see before. You let me down gently, and I don't wait anymore. It wasn't the fall that hurt me, it was how soft it felt, while everything was leaving without ever needing help. I didn't plan on letting go, I held on longer than I should. Kept believing every promise, kept seeing the best in what I could. Every time you let me down, I found another reason to stay. Turned your silence into stress, then blamed myself anyway. I defended you in conversations you never even knew about, while privately I was collecting every unanswered doubt. And somewhere between the hoping and all the waiting I went through, I stopped fighting the reality that I was losing you. I thought leaving would be difficult, until disappointment did the work for me. You made that easy, easy to stop believing, easy to stop reaching out, easy to stop needing. You made that easy, one letdown at a time, one broken expectation, till I stopped calling you mine. I never wanted to walk away, but you made that easy. I remember when your effort used to make me feel secure, when your words and your actions actually matched for sure. But trust erodes in tiny moments, not dramatic enough to see, just enough to leave a question about what we used to be. You kept saying all the right things, but rarely followed through. And eventually I trusted patterns more than I trusted you. That's the thing about disappointment, it doesn't arrive all at once. It teaches your heart slowly not to count on someone. And by the time I stopped expecting, I had already started leaving. You made that easy, easy to stop believing, easy to stop reaching out, easy to stop needing. You made that easy, one letdown at a time, one broken expectation, till I stopped calling you mine. I never wanted to walk away, but you made that easy. The truth is, I stayed for a long time, long after the warning signs appeared, long after I started feeling alone, even when you were here. Because love can be stubborn when it remembers the beginning, but eventually memories lose against repeated disappointment. And no matter how much history exists, trust still needs a future to survive. I kept holding on tighter, while you kept letting go. And every little letdown made the answer easier to know. You made that easy, easy to stop waiting around, easy to stop believing things would somehow turn around. You made that easy, till the hurt outweighed the hope, till the love I carried by myself could no longer cope. And when I finally walked away, there was no dramatic goodbye, just a heart that got tired of asking itself why. You made that easy, and that's why I survived. I thought losing you would be the hardest thing I'd ever do, but after enough disappointment, the hardest thing became staying. I started noticing the pattern before I ever called it that. The way your words would sound so certain, then quietly fall back. You'd say you'd try, you'd say you'd change it, you'd say you'd show up more. But someday lived in all your answers, like a promise without a door. I kept adjusting expectations to match what you could give, convincing myself it still counted if I could still pretend it did. But deep down I was remembering every moment you were gone. Not the things you said you'd do, but the things that never came along. At some point hope turns into habit, even when it hurts to keep. You rarely came through, and I kept calling it timing. You rarely came through, while I kept quietly trying. One more chance, one more excuse, I made it easy to stay. You rarely came through until I stopped hoping you'd change. And that's the truth, I avoided for longer than I should. You rarely came through, even when you said you would. I remember waiting on evenings that turned into empty nights, checking my phone for nothing new, even though I knew I was right. You didn't fail in one big moment, you failed in smaller ways, the kind that don't feel final until they stack up for days. And I think that's why it lasted longer than it ever should, 'cause nothing was dramatic enough to make me do what I should. So I stayed in almost promises and sorry I forgot again, until I stopped believing that effort would ever begin. Reliability doesn't disappear loudly, it just stops showing up. You rarely came through, and I kept calling it timing. You rarely came through, while I kept quietly trying. One more chance, one more excuse, I made it easy to stay. You rarely came through until I stopped hoping you'd change. And that's the truth, I avoided for longer than I should. You rarely came through, even when you said you would. I don't even think you noticed how often I started to expect less, how I stopped building plans around you, how I stopped feeling impressed. 'Cause disappointment has a rhythm you eventually learn to hear, not loud enough to leave at first, but constant enough to fear. And I wasn't angry when I left, I was just finally aware that I had been alone enough for while you were sometimes there. I kept counting the almost, till they outweighed the truth. And every time you didn't show up, I stopped showing up too. You rarely came through, and I finally stopped defending it. No more rewriting the meaning, no more gently pretending it. You rarely came through, and that became the truth I see. Not one big betrayal, just inconsistency. And through, and I stopped needing proof. I used to think love meant patience, but I learned something else too. Sometimes love ends quietly, when someone rarely comes through. It didn't happen in one moment. There was no sudden change, just a slow erosion of timing that never stayed the same. At first I didn't question it, a delay here, a shift there. I told myself you were just busy, that life had made things unfair. But patterns don't stay hidden when they repeat enough times. And I started noticing answers that never arrived on time. Promises turned into maybe, then I'll try turned into none. And I stopped trusting the future we were never really on. Reliability doesn't break loudly, it just quietly disappears. You stop being reliable, not all at once but slowly, a little less each time I needed you, until absence felt like the only thing I could actually expect. Instead of you showing up right, you stopped being reliable, and I adjusted my life around what you might do instead of what you'd say. You stopped being reliable, and I stopped counting the days. I remember rearranging my plans just in case you appeared, keeping space in every moment for something that never neared. I defended your inconsistency to anyone who asked me why. But even I started noticing the truth I couldn't deny. You didn't cancel once, you canceled everything in between. Every expectation I had of you slowly lost its meaning. And I think that's what hurt the most. Not anger, not regret, but learning how quickly certainty can just forget. Trust doesn't end in conflict, it ends in patterns repeating. You stop being reliable, not all at once but slowly, a little less each time I needed you, until absence felt like the only thing I could actually expect. Instead of you showing up right, you stopped being reliable, and I adjusted my life around what you might do instead of what you'd say. You stopped being reliable, and I stopped counting the days. I don't think you meant to become this, or maybe you didn't notice how often later became your answer to things that mattered the most. But I can't build on maybe forever, or trust what doesn't arrive. And I learned that reliability isn't love, it's how love survives. So I stopped expecting consistency where it never really stayed, and started letting go quietly of what you couldn't maintain. kept rescheduling my hope around what you might do, and every broken timing was another truth about you. You stopped being reliable, and I stopped pretending it changed. Not because I stopped caring, but because I rearranged my life around uncertainty. Until certainty felt gone, you stopped being reliable, and I learned to move on. Not in anger, not in silence, but in clarity I gained. You stopped being reliable, and I stopped waiting in vain. It wasn't that you left me, it was that I could no longer plan my life around you staying. It wasn't sudden when it happened. There was no moment I could name, just a slow and quiet shifting of how you showed up, the same. At first you were still trying, even when things felt off, but effort started thinning out like something gently lost. You stopped asking how I was doing, stopped noticing the small changes, stopped staying in the conversations that used to rearrange us. And I told myself it wasn't real, that I was overthinking you. But absence has a language that gets clearer when it's true. It didn't end in one goodbye, it ended in less and less of you. You stopped trying to be there, not all at once, just slowly, a little less each time I needed you, until distance felt like the only thing you were willing to offer. Instead of showing up the same, you stopped trying to be there, and I learned to say your name without expecting an answer, without hoping you would come. You stopped trying to be there, and I stopped waiting for someone. I remember when your presence used to feel like something sure. Now I question every message and what it's really for. You didn't leave in a moment, you left in repetition, and every time you chose less effort over simple attention. And I adjusted like I always do, made peace with what I get, until I stopped remembering what I used to expect. And maybe that's the hardest truth, not what you did or didn't say, but how I learned your absence is part of every day. You didn't disappear loudly, you just became less near. You stopped trying to be there, not all at once, just slowly, a little less each time I needed you, until distance felt like the only thing you were willing to offer. Instead of showing up the same, you stopped trying to be there, and I learned to say your name without and anything I could fight. Just a slow removal of your presence from my life. Oh, you were still around me, but not really here. And every time I reached you, you felt less clear. You stopped trying to be there, and I stopped calling it okay. Because love shouldn't feel like waiting for someone halfway. You stopped trying to be there, and I finally understand the distance isn't always leaving. Sometimes it's just letting go of your hand. Now I don't rewrite the silence, I don't fill in what was gone. You stopped trying to be there, and I moved on. It wasn't that you left me, it was that you stayed less. Until one day there was nothing left to expect.